I've had enough. Let's get a divorce.
My husband and mother-in-law treat me like a maid. I've realized I don't need to devote myself to such people anymore.
What about the kids? Take all 3 of them with you.
Yeah, that's right. Get out, you nuisance. This house will be ours.
Of course. I have no intention of handing over my precious children to such heartless people. Now this is truly the beginning of an exciting life. Let these 2, who can't share anything with me, experience hell to the fullest. My name is Sarah. I'm 45 years old. Currently, I live with my husband, Jean, and our 3 children, along with my mother-in-law, Celia, making a total of 6 people. The older one is Diana, my beloved 7-year-old daughter, and the younger ones are lively 3-year-old twin boys. Anyway, every day is so hectic that I barely get 3 to 4 hours of sleep on average. I often wonder how long I can keep up with this kind of lifestyle and feel disheartened quite often. However, because watching my children grow is what gives my life purpose. I'm somehow managing to hang in there and do my best for now. We started living with my mother-in-law 3 years ago. It was when I found out I was pregnant with twins, our second set of children.
As soon as my husband came back from work. I have a great idea. From now on, parenting will get busier, and I thought we could have Mom move in and live together with all 6 of us in this house.
He said something like that. Wait a minute. So suddenly, out of the blue, my husband started talking non-stop, saying he had already discussed the idea of living with my mother-in-law and gotten her approval for it. He also mentioned that since my mother-in-law lives alone, living together would prevent everyone from feeling lonely. He even suggested that she could help with meal preparations. He began to express his opinions in a surprisingly flippant manner. Upon closer listening, it felt more like it was all for himself and his mother, rather than for me. Since my father-in-law passed away 4 years ago, it seems like my husband visits his parents' home almost every day. Even before we got married, I had a sense that he was very fond of his mother. But it was after my father-in-law's passing that I became certain of it. Seeing my husband being there for my grieving mother-in-law, comforting her in her sorrow, was quite unexpected, and it shocked me. His demeanor, the way he spoke, everything felt different from what I had anticipated.
Oh no, this is totally the extreme kind of mama's boy. I should be careful not to push too hard, or I might hit a nerve.
I remember having such thoughts in my mind. Anyway, my husband really loves his mother. If I just stay quiet and listen, when he comes back from work, he talks about nothing but his mother. Today, he mentioned they had a neighborhood association gathering, and they all had lunch together. He also said they stayed indoors because it was hot, and they were in a room with air conditioning. That's all he talks about. I mean, our daughter is right here, playing with her friends and learning so many things at daycare, but he doesn't show any interest in hearing about it at all. Hey, John, I get that you're interested in your mother's stories, but can you also listen to Diana's stories for a bit? She said she had practiced for the sports festival today and kept wanting to tell you about it. I wanted him to communicate with our child as well, so I told him this after he finished talking. However, it seems like it didn't go over well. You are trying to avoid talking about it just because you dislike my mother. Instead of talking about Diana's story, you should be talking about my mother, who is living alone and doing her best. With such heated exchanges, our relationship as a couple deteriorated even further from that day on. And so, without regard to my opinion, the cohabitation started and has continued to the present day. My mother-in-law does not help me with housework, even though we live together. She just pushes everything onto me and lives carefree every day. Originally, the excuse for living together was that it would be tough with the twins, and she said she would help. When I gave birth, I went all the way back to my parents' house, which was far away. My mother was quite worried about me returning home after being exhausted. "Are you getting along well with Jean? Is everything okay?" She used to say that often, and it's no wonder. After all, she never came to see us even once since the twins were born. Whenever the phone rang, it was Jean asking, "When are you coming back?" It's quite tough for Mom to handle all the household chores alone. "You must have rested enough by now. Please come back soon." After 1 month had passed since giving birth, and even after returning home, my husband and my mother-in-law didn't offer any help with household chores or childcare. No matter how much I struggled through the nights, they paid no attention at all. And whenever they opened their mouths, "I'm hungry, so make some food."
And the room is messy. Make sure to vacuum properly.
He would say things like that. They're inseparable lovers, always together, happily chatting away in nearly every corner of the house except the bathroom and toilet. There's no chance for me to get in between my husband and my mother-in-law. Of course, our daughter and the twin sons have no affection for their grandmother either. These children are not cute at all, especially that girl. If she's a girl, she should act more ladylike and take care of me. She even hurls such cruel words at them. I couldn't help but feel sorry for Diana after hearing that. Mom, that's a terrible way to speak. Please consider Diana's feelings a bit. Even though the 3-year-old twins might not fully comprehend what's being said to them, our daughter, who is about to enter elementary school, understands that she's being ignored and disliked. In fact,
Why do Daddy and Grandma hate me? All my friends say they love their daddies, but I hate Daddy.
she said something like that. Even though we became a family through fate, my husband pays more attention to his mother and neglects us. Honestly, I questioned the meaning of living with such a person, and the idea of divorce lingered in my mind. Despite enduring this unreasonable situation and managing somehow, a decisive event occurred just 1 week later.
I'm going to have lunch with Mom today, so I don't need dinner.
During the day, I received such a message from my husband. Suddenly, as I glanced at my mother-in-law, she seemed delighted, picking out clothes to wear for their outing with a cheerful mood. She even hummed a tune, appearing to enjoy herself. At that moment, I couldn't help but, could you please change today's outing to tomorrow? Lum, though I thought it might be futile to ask, I still conveyed the message. To my surprise, I was met with an incredibly cold and harsh stare. Why should we change our plans? Birthday? It doesn't matter at all. I also messaged my husband asking him to change the plans because it's our daughter's birthday. But at least prepare a present for her. I conveyed that message, but it was left unread. After that, there was no response. I didn't want her to be sad, so I quickly finished the household chores and rushed to do some shopping. I bought a birthday present and a cake adorned with lots of fruits, and I decorated the whole room to prepare for a surprise birthday party. Even though my husband and mother-in-law were not there, I decided to have a grand celebration with Diana's twin brothers, just the 4 of us. After finishing the preparations, I went to the daycare to pick up the kids and held a birthday party. All 3 of them were quite high-spirited and seemed very happy, especially Diana, who had a big smile on her face.
Thank you. Mom! I'm so happy. I feel blessed.
Diana kept saying over and over again. When I gave her the pink bag she had been wanting for a long time as a present, Diana was overjoyed.
This is the bag I've always wanted. I'm so happy. I'll treasure it forever.
With my husband and mother-in-law absent, the 4 of us had a lively birthday celebration. I saw the happy faces of the children, and I realized that I must protect these smiles forever. That's when I made a renewed vow in my heart. After finishing their meal outside and returning home, my husband and mother-in-law seemed quite cheerful, perhaps due to alcohol. I hoped they wouldn't bother me and just go to their respective rooms and quietly fall asleep. However, that wish proved to be impossible. My husband started bothering our daughter.
So, you're an elementary school student now. Well, you might have some tough times, but do your best. Even though I won't be able to attend your entrance ceremony or sports day festival, well, just do your best.
He threw such heartless words at her. I couldn't help but wonder if he was sane. I mean, there was absolutely no need to say something like that. And on top of it all, today was Diana's birthday. Hey, you're way too drunk. Don't say things like that in front of Diana, please.
You should go to bed early tomorrow.
When I said that, my husband, Gene, became extremely furious. I thought this is exactly what they call reverse anger.
You're always nagging. No matter what I say, you, a housekeeper who can't even handle household chores properly, have no right to meddle and butt in.
And even my mother-in-law, who was listening to the conversation, approached me and said, "You act so high and mighty. It's irritating. We have this comfortable life thanks to Jean, and you don't even show any gratitude." Upon hearing their words, I thought to myself, I can't take it anymore. I can't handle this. It's absolutely impossible. Before I knew it, I found myself asking for a divorce.
I've had enough. I'm tired of living together.
My husband and mother-in-law treat me like a maid and never once cared for me. There is no need to serve these people any longer. I realized that, Let's leave quickly. I don't want to see the faces of these people anymore. However, my husband and mother-in-law had a different perspective. Carl, if you're leaving the house, take the 3 brats with you. Don't you dare burden me with more trouble. Exactly. Get rid of the nuisances. This house will be ours. In fact, I'm so glad you finally made up your mind to leave this house. It seemed my mother-in-law was delighted that I brought up the divorce.
Take the kids with you.
My husband said such things, but of course, I have no intention of handing over our precious children to such heartless people. After all, this is just the beginning of a truly happy life for us. I'm determined to make those 2 who can't share anything suffer to the core and experience utter hell. Yes, I've decided to take revenge on these 2.
Of course. Because if I left them with you, they would only be unhappy. I will pack up our belongings right away and we'll be gone by tomorrow morning, so don't worry.
Upon hearing this, my husband had a look of relief. Did he really think I will leave the children behind? That's just unimaginable.
Wow, that's great. The noisy brats are living with you, huh? Awesome.
Ignoring my husband's cheerful chatter, I went to my daughter's side even though the twins were already asleep. I told my daughter about moving out tomorrow.
Let's go to Grandpa's house tomorrow.
Are we moving out?
That's right.
Really? I'm so happy.
She probably wanted to leave the house as soon as possible as well. We packed our things and arranged for the moving company the next morning. My mother-in-law was still fast asleep in her room, seemingly unaware of us departing. It seemed like she didn't even notice that we left. Well, I suppose it's better that way, less drama. After a few hours of traveling, we arrived back at my parents' home, and both my daughter and sons were overjoyed, hugging their grandpa tightly. My mother said, "You made a good decision. Well done. From now on, we must do our best for the sake of the children." I had already requested the divorce proceedings from a lawyer, and I wanted to settle things as quickly as possible. However, before I could make that request, I received a call from my husband and mother-in-law. It was like a barrage of calls. When I checked my smartphone, there were over 50 missed calls. And even now, the phone keeps ringing incessantly. They realized it just now, huh? Well, that's how I felt from my perspective. When I answered the call, my husband's voice was trembling.
Hey! What's going on with this letter? Selling the house? And I'm supposed to pay $1,000 in child support every month? This is absolutely ridiculous.
He said such things. I can't help but wonder what he's saying. Well, it's obvious, isn't it? The house is originally under my name, right? Why should we, who were driven out, have to pay for that house? And paying child support is only natural. You're the father, don't play innocent. It seemed that both my husband and mother-in-law had forgotten, but the house we've been living in is actually under my name. After quitting my job, I worked diligently as an investor to earn a living. Because my husband only earns a monthly take-home salary of $1,500, he's a low-income earner. There's no way we could support 3 children, myself and my money-needy mother-in-law, with that. Yet they insisted I become a stay-at-home wife, which was an impractical demand. I was able to allocate time and funds for investments while managing household chores and generating income during my free time. During my free time, I started investing with some skepticism. Surprisingly, it turned out to be suitable for me, and I was able to steadily increase my wealth. I paid off the mortgage for the house I bought during my single days over the past few years.
Then let's divide the assets. Half of the money you earn should stay with me. Trying to take money from me alone, there's no way that would be allowed.
He seemed quite agitated and completely irrational. Even his mother agreed with his words.
That's right. We understand you hold a grudge against us, but dividing the assets is a different matter.
They were saying such things. It's clear this family still doesn't understand anything. Well, I'll have to make them see. Then let me say this, since I married Jean, I haven't received a single penny for living expenses, not for loan payments, utilities, or anything. And Mom, I never received any wedding or baby shower gifts from you either. Even after we started living together, I provided for the household expenses, including pocket change, right?
Well?
That's right. Truth be told, I've never received any gifts from my mother-in-law. Not only that, I've been covering all living expenses and pocket money too. I even questioned my husband, asking, "Isn't that strange?" But I was told that his family was poor and didn't have money, so I had no choice but to endure it. However, as soon as we started living together, they started eating out frequently and making travel plans. I can't understand it at all. To make matters worse, they ended up kicking me out and claimed the house as their own. There's no way such a thing should be allowed. My husband seemed to finally realize his wrongdoing and could only apologize. Maybe he couldn't think of any other way to change the current situation than to apologize and ask me to come back.
I'm sorry, Sarah. I was wrong. I've caused trouble for you and the children because of my incompetence. I truly apologize. Let's talk again and live together as a family of 6. Will, what do you say?
That's right. Sarah, I think it's better that way. After all, it's not good for the children. They will definitely face harassment in a single-parent household.
Just when I thought what they would say next, it turned out to be a veiled threat. I won't yield to their cheap apologies or incomprehensible intimidation. No, you're completely mistaken if you think I'll go back to that house.
No. You're completely mistaken if you think I'll go back to that house. No matter how many times you apologize, or even if you offer money, I won't return. Besides, it's obvious that you're just saying that because you're having a hard time without me, but it's all about money, isn't it?
It must have hit the mark. I could faintly hear frustration in my husband's voice from the other end of the line. Even if they sincerely apologized and conveyed true sincerity, my heart might have been moved a little, but unfortunately, I felt nothing. Their arguments seemed absurd, and I couldn't help but think their future together would be hell. My husband still tried to reconcile, using the children as leverage. But my daughter, who was listening nearby, took the phone and said, "Hey Dad and Grandma, neither I nor Mum will go back to that house. Living there won't make anyone happy. I'm happier living here." She said that to my husband, being rejected even by his child. His tearful plea to his 6-year-old daughter was truly pitiful.
Well, that's how it is. So please leave that house as soon as possible. Alright then. I'll handle the divorce proceedings through the lawyer.
I said that and hung up the phone. Despite that, my persistent husband and mother-in-law kept contacting me. And in the end, they even came to my parents' house to apologize on the doorstep. I'm really sorry for my shortcomings. Please forgive me. I truly regret it. Without you, Sarah, and the kids, I can't go on living. Sarah, please come out and listen to us. Forgive Jen, please. Let's live together as a family again for the children's sake. Even at this point, my mother-in-law is still refusing to acknowledge her faults and talking about it being for the sake of the children. I couldn't help but be amazed and frustrated, thinking that no matter how many times this person is reborn, their personality would remain the same. Of course, I have no intention of dealing with them any further. After finally separating from my husband and mother-in-law to live peacefully, I didn't want any interference and I didn't want to waste my energy. Moreover, their loud voices were causing a disturbance to the neighborhood, which led my parents to report it to the police. 3 police officers took them away. His loud voice calling my name until the very end made me nauseous. Well, after that, they never showed up in front of our family again. Later, the divorce was finalized through the lawyer. It was decided that he would pay $1,000 in child support until all 3 children reached adulthood. Since they were financially unstable, and I was worried about payment delays, I explained the divorce situation to his company and arranged for direct deductions from his salary. With a salary of only $1,500 per month, after deducting the $1,000, he was left with only $500. I heard he quickly found a part-time job at the construction site, since his company allows side jobs. Of course, they had to leave our home as well. Although they couldn't find a new place right away, they eventually moved into a rundown apartment that matched their income. Their future may seem uncertain, but with their close relationship, they will figure things out somehow. No matter what happens, I will securely get the child support. Since we moved back to my parents' house, we have been enjoying very happy days. The kids are smiling every day, eating well, and full of energy. I will continue to do my best to protect their smiles and take care of them.